So far, it's just a couple of central banks. But central banks aren't complete idiots. I mean, they are pretty dumb. They do stupid things. They have corrupted the world economy. They keep us chained into this absolutely flat out evil monetary system that enslaves us and always produces more debt than there is currency to pay the debt. But like I said, they're not completely stupid. They know about the gold-silver ratio. They know that silver is incredibly undervalued. They have been accumulating gold. And, one of my strategies has been to accumulate silver now. And then at certain gold-silver ratios, I'm going to be turning some of that silver into gold. I think a lot of the central banks will be looking at around trying to accumulate more gold, knowing that there is a problem coming with fiat currencies and just the monetary system in general, the markets and so on. And the best way to get ahead of the curve is to try and get as much gold as possible. But with gold already up at the prices that it's up at, they're looking at that thinking that, even though it's at record highs pretty much, they're looking at that thinking that that's a high, where silver is still basically at its 1980 high today, which just doesn't make any sense at all. So why don't you take us through this presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I'll say as we go through it for our viewers to keep in mind is that silver has basically either been considered an industrial metal or a monetary metal. And we're almost seeing an emergence of a sort of a hybrid where it's like a security metal, like a metal of national security. So keep that in mind as we go through here.
Well, it's a metal that tech has to have. Tech can't get by without it. And at the same time, we're starting to see monetary demand, and this will increase as time goes on. We haven't seen the West interested. The West was selling while the East was buying. Which I think is sad to see. But this is the one I was wrong on. I said that the central bank had actually purchased, and what they've done is India takes a historic step toward the remonetization of silver. They've made silver a metal that can be used as collateral in loans.
Exactly. So for decades, Indian households have relied on gold jewelry as a primary form of collateral for personal and business loans. The new rules expand that privilege to silver jewelry. So you can pledge silver for loans as well. So sort of recognizing that silver has a lot of value, it has monetary value, it's good collateral, but not quite the same as the central bank buying it.
It's interesting that they put it at 10 to 1 instead of whatever the free market rate is. 85 to 1 is what it is today. So they should, they're somewhat restricted, but it also tells you where they think it might be going.
Exactly. All right. So our second country here is actually Russia. So this is an article back in the summer from June. Central bank silver purchases, Russia leads smart money. So central banks are virtually absent from the silver market in 2024 and 2025, with one historic exception. Russia has become the first nation to explicitly announce silver purchases for state reserves during the current precious metals bull market, allocating over $500 million over the course of 3 years. So Russian central bank absolutely buying silver. They're leading the way, and they may incentivize others.
And if it goes down to, say, a ratio of 20, it means that they will be able to get over $2 trillion worth of gold for this $535 million that they spent on silver. So, they're not completely stupid.
I agree. Exactly. And our next country here, Saudi Arabia. The central bank invests tens of millions into silver. That was about $40 million. And they bought SLV and SIL. So two different ETFs, not the actual physical metal.
The headline should say that the central bank bought tens of millions of dollars worth of claim checks that represent, there's supposed to be representations of silver. But like I said in that original video where David asked me about this, SLV and the other ETFs, I just don't trust them. And the reason I don't trust them is because I read their prospectus and their 10K filings.
Yeah. So those are the three countries you talked about. We've got three more, and they're not explicitly buying silver, but they are treating it as a strategically important mineral. So let's take a look at those. China now restricts silver as a key mineral resource for export control. So basically, starting sometime in 2026, if you want to export silver from China, you're going to have to apply for a license so the Chinese government can restrict how much leaves its borders.
Yeah, this is this is part of the reaction to Trump's trade wars and tariffs. Silver is an incredibly important metal, and China is a major supplier, and that means that they can squeeze all of the tech, all of the AI infrastructure that's going in, all of the solar and batteries and things to power electric vehicles and so on. This all requires silver. And if the West is using more than it produces, and the world is using a whole lot more than we produce, stockpiles are getting low, and then China can put a squeeze on us. And this is part of the posturing and the battle that was triggered with the Trump tariffs.
Speaking of using more than we produce, here are the silver stocks in China. So here we have the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Shanghai Futures Exchange. And what's going on in China kind of parallels what's been going on in the world. Basically, we had growing silver stockpiles until around the year 2020. And for the last 5 years or so, we've been using up those stockpiles around the world. So this could be contributing to what we just talked about.
Yeah, people are taking delivery. And so look at that huge fall in the futures. The physical shrunk, but the futures, the bets on physical shrunk by even more. People are not trusting the paper contracts as much as actually having it in their hands. So this is a reflection of investors being more nervous and actually taking delivery, pulling it off the exchange. And not just, it's the musical chairs occurring on the Titanic. And you've seen the movie with the little orchestra, that's a string orchestra that's playing. They do stop playing at one time or another. And by that time, there's not enough lifeboats left.
The good old United States of America, the U.S. Department of the Interior releases the final 2025 list of critical minerals. There's 60 critical minerals. Seems like just about everything is critical to the United States now. But they added 10 new ones this year, and silver has finally made the list. So silver is now critical. Who knows exactly what that's going to mean? It could translate into more legislation and regulation, but the United States is recognizing that silver is extremely important.
Yeah, and pretty soon it will be very profitable to invest in mining companies and so on, and to do the investment in all of that infrastructure. And the Silver Valley up in Coeur d'Alene, which is the largest deposit ever found, I believe, that area, a lot of those mines can be resurrected and improved. But for most operations, it's 10 years or more from discovery to production. I did a video on this years ago, the lag time that is involved. Silver goes up, then there's all this investment in the mining sector, and then it takes years for that silver to come to market. And so that happened when silver peaked in 2011, and the silver started coming to market by 2015, 2018, you saw increases. But then we went back into a structural deficit, even with that extra supply coming to market from all of those mines that were opened up or reopened, and we're running out. We've had this structural deficit year after year after year. And so this runs in these waves and cycles. But I don't know if even at $150 or $200 an ounce, if silver is going to catch up with demand over you look at the AI infrastructure that's being built out and the demand that silver will have on it for all of this tech. And at the same time, people are rushing back to it for investment. And when you invest in something like Silver Eagles, you're taking silver off the market permanently. Nobody's going to melt down Silver Eagles to put into electronics. The premium on them is too high. Okay.
Exactly. And our final country, Australia. The government in New South Wales has published their critical minerals and high-tech metals strategy for the next decade, even though they just published it. It includes last year. Kind of strange. Huh. But anyways, in their report, they listed 5 priority minerals and metals, one of which is, of course, silver.
Wow.
And one of the things they said about silver, aside from all the industrial uses that you commented on earlier, they said, additionally, silver has strong demand as an investment product, parentheses, currency. And I just thought this was interesting. And I thought, man, it's supposed to be money, not currency. And it's not really an investment product. It's savings, right? You're trying to preserve your wealth. But anyways, this is classic government.
Okay. So yes, it is money, not currency. And, it can be a currency. Right now, it's not being used as a currency, but it is money because it stores value. However, I've often said that there are these brief moments in history where the precious metals become not just the safe haven